Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geeks, nerds, fanboys and girls of all ages around the globe, you have come to the right place if you're looking for news on comic books, comic book TV, comic book film, anime, video games, and lots more. You have reached the Vigilant Geek Podcast. My name is Andrew Puzak of Vigilant Geek Media, and with me, as always, my comic book partner in crime,
Holden Orme,
who is also of Vigilant Geek Media.
That's right.
And this week, we have a compelling episode for you where we do a rundown of the DC TV universe, something we actually haven't been able to really cover so far since we've been running this podcast. I do have some blog articles put up on the Vigilant Geek blog. If you're into DC TV, you might want to check them out. Although they're pretty outdated at this point. They're from probably back Flash season 1, Arrow season 3 type stuff. But if you want to check out the blog, always go to thevigilantgeek.blogspot.com. And there's all sorts of neat articles there on various topics, comics, video games, what have you, for your reading pleasure. So, Holden, today we're going to talk about we'll talk a little Arrow first, I figure, because Arrow was what started this DC this vast DC TV universe that we're now able to sit here and analyze. And then we'll follow it up with some Flash. We'll talk a little Flash. And then we'll talk some Legends of Tomorrow, which has become like my new favorite show.
It's so good. I love how they're finding ways to actually use DC fringe characters. It's like the people who are doing the TV content for DC should really teach the people who are running the publishing aspect of it on how to bring back some of these fringe characters. Oh, God,
yeah. They're genius. And it's almost like, the bullpen over at DC, the comic books, the creative talent over there, they could really take a few pages out of their book, the Mark Guggenheim, Andrew Kreisberg, and others on how to how to remarket Ray Palmer, the Atom, and make him cool and make him a character that people want to read about. Or, same thing with Firestorm, like the Firestorm from the TV show. If they did a book on, Dr. Stein, I would read it. I'd read it.
They had one initially at the beginning of the New 52, but then...
Did you read it?
No.
Oh, I was curious.
I had no idea who Firestorm was.
Yeah.
And, but the character in itself, it's like two human beings fused together, and they have control over matter, which kind of makes them like the Molecule Man from Marvel, only in this case...
Yeah, that's extreme power.
That's crazy. So, if you have any knowledge of chemistry or makeup of certain elements, you have the mastery to go ahead and shift it to your will as Firestorm. It's insane.
Wow. They could do so much. Another character they could do so much with right there. And, what are they doing? They're sitting and, not even thinking about it.
Just pretty much the entire Legends of Tomorrow roster.
Oh, every one of those characters should have their own book.
Or at least have a Legends of Tomorrow book.
Yeah,
they have adaptations for the television series for the Flash and Arrow,
and which they've actually done a great job on those too. If you've I read the Arrow one, and I know the Flash one's good too, and they I'm sure they'll have something like that for Legends as well. But they should, they could do so much more. They could market so much more, and they don't. I don't know why that is.
Lately with DC, I think they've actually had a lot of great miniseries come out recently, and they're almost a lot stronger than their regular monthly books. I don't see why you couldn't find somebody who's got an established writer I'm sure you could go ahead and get an established writer to go ahead and write these six-issue miniseries on Hawkman or Hawkgirl.
I'd love that.
Or
I love
the Atom
yeah.
or Firestorm or Rip Hunter or any of these characters.
Yeah. Who doesn't want to read, a miniseries on an effeminate Englishman who travels through time? I love that. It's great.
It's called Doctor Who, and it's an enormous hit across the world, Andrew. How dare you?
No. But Rip Hunter is like a badass, and they really push that hard, like, all the time. So it's a little different,
It's really not very believable. They're really shoving it down your throat that, like, he's this super badass, like, time traveler guy. And he's just like, I have a really proper voice. And do that thing you do every time at the beginning of the episode.
Oh, God. Like, he's talking about the plot of the show. And when the show opens, the music starts playing. Dun, 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 dun. In 2046, Vandal Savage conquered the world and murdered my wife and child. And it's like... It's like you should have more like just rage, like enthusiasm based on your rage that he like killed your family, and it's just like it sounds like you're falling asleep as you're telling me this. Like in 2046, Vandal Savage conquered the world and murdered my wife and child. Yeah, exactly. It's like you should be like, and that bastard murdered my wife and child! Son of a bitch! I'm gonna fucking come after him and chop his friggin' head off! That's what I'd be like, is I guess he murdered my wife and child. Murdered my wife and child.
Oh, don't blame Rip Hunter. He must be occupied.
No, honestly, like Rip Hunter kind of annoys me, like the character in the show. But all those other like awesome characters, and like Captain Cold and Heatwave, even like they're awesome on that show.
So good.
I don't know. I don't really think that Captain Cold offed him. I don't know, because we didn't get to really see what happened.
No, I don't think he did that. See, like
Heatwave's hanging out somewhere. We don't know where he is right now, but he's definitely not dead. No. Captain Cold wouldn't do that.
He just
Leonard Snart is never gonna kill Rory. It's just not gonna happen.
No, they're just gonna bicker and fight, and then Rory's gonna.
First of all, I am a true believer that the rogues don't kill to begin with. They don't kill. They're all about the score. They don't kill.
Yeah, at the beginning, at the beginning in the first season of The Flash, Captain Cold was actually killing a lot. Which was
I know.
He was. They were kind of going a little nuts with it.
Yeah, I wasn't digging that, but because this is not that's not the rogues. So I mean, they didn't really form the rogues like until I want to say like at least the end of season 1. You don't really see any of them together until then, and then I mean they pretty much have come together mid season 2.
Let's see. Well, they got the Weather Wizard and Gold Glider, Mick.
And yeah, and of course, Captain Cold, Leonard Snart. And then Trickster should be a part of it. I don't know if he is in the show yet, but I don't see. They've introduced him already, so
that was a really great episode.
Oh, Mark Hamill is the Trickster, man. We'll get into that.
It was fantastic. It was like he plays the Trickster like he did like he did the Joker when he did the
animated the voice
series.
Work. Yeah,
it was really fun to like watch.
Yeah, everyone loved that episode. Mark Hamill had such a big year this year. Like, he played Trickster on Flash. He got the part, obviously, along with Kevin Conroy for The Killing Joke, which is going to be phenomenal. It's going to be such a great animated adaptation. I cannot wait.
Not only is it rated
And then
R,
Star Wars.
Oh, Star Wars was the biggest deal. And he was like hardly in that movie. He probably made like $20 million.
Oh yeah, just being in it, But it was just he had such a great year for himself, and I love Mark Hamill, and he's a huge comic book guy, and he's done a lot for the industry, even though
he's done some creator-owned stuff too.
Yeah,
nothing that I can think of off the top of my head, but I'm aware that he's attempted it.
Yeah, Mark Hamill is just he's a fucking really cool guy, and I'm happy for him. But he was awesome in The Flash. Getting back on topic, we are talking the DC TV universe. Yeah, I suppose. I I suppose we should get into a little Arrow. Let's start with the series that started it all, and let's break down Arrow just a little, and we'll talk just season by season, I suppose. What do you say?
Let's get to it. Like the first season was an enormous deal because this is like the first time that DC tried anything that was live action in like since Smallville. And even then, Smallville wasn't trying to be an actual adaptation of the books. It was meant to be a Superman spinoff for high school age kids.
Yeah, it was a snore. That's just my opinion.
I was into it for 3 years, and then I had real life adult issues that I had to worry about and didn't have the time to watch.
You couldn't focus on Clark Kent's teenage issues anymore.
No, I couldn't. Didn't have time. And then they did a bunch of other seasons after that, so I guess it did like fairly well. But then I don't know. I just could never get back into it.
Yeah, to hell with it. You know.
Yeah, but Arrow. Well, actually, in Smallville, I think that's when they first got the idea of trying to make an Arrow show because they had the Green Arrow. They had Oliver Queen Green Arrow character in the Smallville,
which is dumb because Oliver Queen doesn't become the Green Arrow until much later. You know, Oliver Queen would have been like a playboy at that point during his teenage years.
Yeah, well, they must have sped up the timeline. They took a lot of liberties during that.
Same thing with Aquaman. They had like some kid dressed up like Aquaman, or I don't know, but he doesn't become Aquaman until later in life, I thought.
It's something, I don't know. I only saw the first 3 seasons and all that stuff like happened afterwards, which I'm kind of irritated by because this sounds like something I might have actually been into. But
yeah, to hell with it.
Anyways, that I guess the Oliver Queen character there tested well enough that they went ahead and gave the Arrow himself his own show, and they adapted it off of the Island storyline, and they kind of did this storytelling where they told 2 stories at the same time during an episode. One would be backstory from the Island, and then the other one would be whatever Ollie happened to be doing during present time.
Which was sort of like the Green Arrow year 1, if you will, like when he's first starting out. And yeah, no, I really like that, how they'd bring you back to the Island, and then they'd bring you to present day. What's he up to now, and then back to the Island, and then that's how they'd run the whole season. And you get to see like all these year 1 of him, like, being a vigilante and really just more of an assassin than anything else. Actually, he's killing a lot of people.
Yeah.
Season 1 is badass because he is just taking people out with a bow and arrow. It's fucking cool.
He was the Punisher with a bow and arrow.
Pretty much. Yeah.
He shows up. You failed this city, Arrow, like dead.
Yeah, he's just picking people off from his dad's book, his list of bad people or people that he was in business with.
I liked how they got closure on that that list, and how they kind of concluded that storyline, and you found out what was really going on within the first season.
Yeah,
they've done a really good job. Kind of each season is kind of a story arc in itself, and that runs about 23 to 24 episodes.
Yeah, it's great. It's great, and it's almost like 2 story arcs at the same time in the first couple seasons when they're doing the Island, and they're doing, flashback and then current day, and then flashback and then present day, So you get like 2-in-1 package deal there. You get twice the excitement, if you will. But season 1, it had a lot of great DC characters like Huntress, Deadshot, Bronze Tiger, China White. Who else am I leaving out? Dark Archer.
Clock King.
Clock King was he in season 1 or season 2?
Oh, think. Count Vertigo.
Count Vertigo, yep, another one.
He was definitely there.
Yeah, I liked what they did with the Vertigo drug, and how that they kind of had that they played the little Vertigo side effect that way, as opposed to some of the other ways Count Vertigo's been portrayed in the comics with, you'd probably know a little bit better than me, Holden, but, sometimes he has powers, sometimes he has this device on him that causes people to be like hypnotized or messed up in the head.
And every incarnation that I've seen of the character before Arrow, I've seen him in a number of animations. I've read him in the books.
Yeah.
It just seems like his powers are always derived from this device, this creepy implant thing. That he's got in him.
Yeah. I've seen that as well. Yeah. I think the last time we saw Count Vertigo, if you read the rag, the Green Arrow book, it would probably be Villains Month 2 years ago. That was 2013. Well, that would be just about 3 years ago, going on 3 years ago. Yeah, Villains Month was the last time he popped up, I believe. I haven't seen Count Vertigo since, but like we've talked about in the last DC update, they've been doing some wacky things with Green Arrow for a while. So
yeah, he's got a really weak rogues gallery.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that, because as we go into more Arrow, we start talking about all the things that are actually borrowed from Gotham City and borrowed from the Batman storyline because of the lack of solid rogues and solid, folklore from the Green Arrow story. Yeah. A lot of things were borrowed from Batman, which I'm not a fan of, and we'll get to that. I think it doesn't do any favors for the character or building the character as a fan favorite at all. If anything, it turns people off from the character, and
unless they're not really familiar with the books or anything that
right.
DC's provided, in which case you're going to side with the show over. Else.
Exactly. And for a lot of people, the show kind of is the thing that dictates, the storyline and the origin of the character.
Oh, it's starting to across the entire industry. I mean, everything that's gone on within the films has been reflected in Marvel's line as well.
Right.
Like from the actual design of Guardians of the Galaxy, Peter Quill's getup was a lot different before that movie.
Yeah, they used to all wear the same uniform, and it was like blue and kind of tacky.
And he had this weird mask and helmet thing.
Well, it was similar to the mask and helmet he had in the movie.
Is it? I thought they were different.
It's pretty similar. I mean, they're a little different. But yeah, he has that mask helmet thing in the movie. He doesn't wear it a lot, but he has like a button that he presses and it goes on his face. So, But yeah, no, the costume is very different because they used to wear like sort of it looked like I don't know, like an outfit that a space cop would wear, except blue, like a Green Lantern outfit but blue, like an old school Green Lantern outfit but blue.
Oh, nice.
Like old school Guy Gardner Green Lantern outfit but blue.
Oh, that like biker jacket that he's always kind of wearing.
Yeah, they had
like a bomber jacket, really.
Yeah, it looked kind of like a bomber jacket, and that's sort of what the Guardians had, but blue. And it was kind of tacky, I admit. But they had him in a different uniform at the end, the dark burgundy red. I kind of like that. They looked kind of badass. So I can't wait for that sequel movie to come out. James Gunn is such a great filmmaker. I love what he did with Guardians. So cool.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. I don't even know if they've started filming on that yet.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything. But yeah, I don't know. Be interesting to see where they are. If they're going to start production anytime soon, or if they have and we just don't know. But yeah, all right, so let's get back to Little Arrow. So we mentioned what went on in season 1, sort of, kind of. Oliver Queen fulfilling his father's last dying wish of killing everybody in a list of names in a book that he has.
And then the final confrontation with Malcolm Merlyn.
The Dark Archer, Malcolm Merlyn, who is just a reoccurring prick. He's just one of those nasty big pricks that you just can't get rid of. I'm sure you ladies out there understand what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they had this great thing going on with the Archer versus Archer thing, though.
There's some great scenes, man.
The Green Arrow versus the Black Arrow.
Yeah, the Dark Archer. Great fight scenes between Oliver and Malcolm, and they have that undertaking. That's right, with the earthquake machine and Malcolm Merlyn trying to like blow up or use the earthquake machine to destroy the Narrows so they can rebuild it. And
then that's when they kind of stole the League of Shadows from Batman there.
Is that when that happened?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's the first thing. But I mean, the League of Shadows, or League of Assassins, I think is what they're called in comic book continuity. That I don't mind, because the League of Assassins is like its own entity within the DCU. So anyone can encounter them. Green Lantern could technically encounter the League of Assassins, and I'd be okay with it. Wonder Woman could. Friggin' Lobo could have a duking out, all out, drag out brawl with the League of Assassins, and that would be okay with me.
Yep.
Because they are like their own thing. Like, yes, like they are like prominently part of Batman folklore, but they've become their own thing within the DCU. So that I'm okay with. But yes, that is the first thing technically that was stolen from the Batman folklore. So yeah, we got that, and then we get into season 2 where you start to hear more about the League of Assassins here and there, and Nyssa Al Ghul shows up a few times, which is, supposedly one of Ra's al Ghul's daughters, the one that they're using for this story, I guess.
And then they introduce Sarah Lance as the Black Canary.
Right. She's the Black Canary for most of the season. We got Roy Harper as I think they call him Arsenal in the show, but really he's not supposed to be Arsenal until he goes off on his own. I thought he was Red Arrow. Was I right about that?
It depends. Green Arrow's been rebooted, and each time it's been fairly different. With what I'm familiar with right now, Roy Harper was a genius-level intellect that was very good at making weapons, and he helped Oliver design all his original trick arrows.
Yeah.
In the show, he's his sister's boyfriend. My bad. Yeah, he's his sister's boyfriend, and he ends up becoming
He's just a street rat.
Yeah. I mean, I guess he's still technically the sidekick, but like not in the capacity he was in the comics.
They should have just called him Street Rat. That should have been his name.
Riff raff, street rat. I don't buy that. Is there anything Aladdin can't show us?
Ugh.
What if Aladdin was part of the League of Assassins? Getting killed by a genie that sounds like Robin Williams?
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Anyways, now that I'm totally off kilter here with what we were talking about, Roy Harper, yeah, so he starts developing like this, kind of like a team. He's got John Diggle, of course, who's, been sort of like had his back since season 1.
Oh, yes, Black Driver.
The Black Driver.
Black Driver!
Yeah, that's what Steve Amell was calling the John Diggle's, the guy who plays John Diggle. He was calling him Black Driver. It was like, I don't know, little inside joke that I thought was funny. Anyways, so you have him, you got Canary, you got Roy Harper, whatever the hell he was supposed to be.
Yeah, if they're calling him Arsenal, then he's
Arsenal. Yeah, he's Arsenal in the show, I'm pretty sure. And then, the big bad guy for season 2 was Deathstroke, was Slade Wilson. And the cool thing about that was, like, they were flashing back to the island again in season 2, and showing a lot of Slade, Island Slade, Slade on the island with Oliver, training him and hanging out with him, and then like slowly but surely they bring you to the flashback where Slade and Oliver have, where things go wrong, basically. And then, likewise, they start to, at the same point in time, which is really cool, when they bring you back to present day continuity, they reveal Slade to be this like incredibly malicious villain at this like almost the same time you find out what happened on the island.
Super strong and mastermind intellect.
Oh yeah. And I mean,
and was believed to be dead from season 1.
right, and you know what Slade does to Starling City in that season, like rivals what Bane does to Gotham City in Dark Knight Rises. Like it is just catastrophe. It is a mess. It is so awesome. Season 2 of Arrow is the best season they'll have ever. It was just so friggin' good. Unbelievable.
I don't really see any other types of characters. Well, I don't know. There might be somebody in a rogues gallery in there somewhere that can do things. I mean, I don't know. Season 2 is where I left off, as I haven't seen any of season 3 or season 4 yet. And I heard what was it? Season 3, Oliver ends up training with the League of Assassins eventually.
In a way, well, you know, the whole season revolves around Ra's al Ghul, and the League. And, you know, it was a pretty good season overall. It honestly wasn't as bad as some people like to say. You know, once again, they borrowed a lot of shit from Batman. Ollie has a trial by combat with Ra's. Of course, you know, you got to have your shirt off for that. So, you know, that was a big thing. And they had their shirts off and doing the sword fighting thing, just like Bruce had to do with Ra's. You know, you got to fight him. You got to fight him with your shirt off. You can't be wearing a shirt. You know, don't even try that shit. You got to take your shirt off. It doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter how you feel about your body.
This is how the assassins do business.
Oh yeah, big time.
Nothing but ripped muscles.
Yeah.
Hard ripped muscles and swords.
So Ra's al Ghul, he wants Oliver to be his heir to the throne of the Demon's Head, which is another thing straight from Batman. Oliver declines, and they do the trial by combat. Oliver loses the trial by combat, gets stabbed in the ribs, and then falls off a cliff where he lays for probably a day or two, and then is magically found by the Katana. I forget what her name actually was in the show, but she ends up becoming Katana, another DC character.
Mm-hmm.
So she saves him somehow, and he goes back, and the long of the short of it is it ends up being, you know, Ra's finds out that Oliver's alive. He comes back to Starling City, and he basically says, "I'm gonna destroy this city if you don't become my heir." So I think in an effort to save, or, you know, preserve Starling City, Oliver agrees to become his heir at that point.
And then he wears the black getup.
Yeah, and then for a while he's almost a heel because he's acting like a prick and being like like he's acting like Ra's al Ghul and, you know, walking around in the League of Assassins garb and all that horse shit. Well, the gang, you know, Oliver's crew now, they go to Nanda Parbat, you know, to try to rescue Oliver, and they get imprisoned and all this stuff, and Oliver just basically has to wait for the right moment to turn on Ra's and, you know, save his city yet again, and yada yada yada. What people really didn't like is at the end of that season, Oliver and Felicity get together, and he says that he loves her and this and that, and then they drive off and down the coast into, you know, whatever, and I don't know. I was impartial to it. I didn't really, you know, but, you know, that was where they left you at the end of season 3. So you didn't know, like, a lot of people thought, like, you know, like, what the hell is going to happen now? Like, Oliver's leaving Starling City. Well, let's not forget that Oliver leaves Starling City at the end of pretty much every season. I mean, they had to find him in the island at the beginning of season 2, right?
Yeah, he always takes a sabbatical.
Yeah.
So like, goes somewhere where there's not people.
He comes right back beginning of season 4. No big deal. And season 4, we're about 2/3 through. The big bad guy from season 4 has, of course, been Damien Dark.
I don't even know him within the books.
He's, you know, I don't really have a good idea about who he really is either, but I believe he's actually a villain from like the Justice League Dark books. He has like these mystical powers, not unlike Constantine. In fact, Constantine, they brought Matt Ryan, who plays John Constantine in the Constantine series that got canceled. Very unfortunate, just due to an unfortunate time slot. How many people are going to be staying home watching television at 10 p.m. on a Friday night? I don't know. Clearly that was, a horrible time slot to put a great show like that. Anywho, in big part due to Steve Amell, they had Matt Ryan on as Constantine on the Arrow show. So he's, John Constantine is in fact like part of the DC TV universe continuity, which is pretty cool. And he gave Oliver some kind of like a blessing of some sort, mystical blessing or something. That's like if you see one of all these tattoos on his abs, like that's the one that Constantine gave him. They did like a whole backstory on that, which was pretty cool. But like Oliver has some kind of mystical power in him. We just don't really know much about it yet, but it's helping him against Dark. And that's about all I know so far. But it's been all right. But once again, we want to talk about what they've stolen from Batman. Dark puts a hit out on Felicity right around the same time. Well, maybe a week shy of her finding out about one of Oliver's bastard children, and that's a whole thing too. That causes Felicity to leave him. I know I'm spilling the whole show on you here, but
no, that's fine. I'll catch up eventually, anyways.
Yeah. I mean, we'll watch it together. It's no big deal. Either way, they got Felicity. She got shot up like in a SUV, or it was like an SUV limo by Dark's thugs, and as a result, she's paralyzed and in a wheelchair and basically doing a whole Oracle bit. In fact, they even call her Oracle on the show.
Wow.
Yeah, like that's like her code name, Oracle. And like, I was just like kind of had my head in my hand over that one because I was, I'm a huge Batman guy, like a huge Bat historian. I've read most of the pertinent continuity over the years now, except for I have yet to read what's the big one, Nightfall. I haven't read Nightfall yet, but besides that, I've read most of the, so I'm upset over something like that. You don't do that. That's a disrespect to Barbara Gordon's story, and Batman continuity in general. So,
and the most irritating thing about it is they show, by using all these Batman characters and storylines, they're just showing how good a live action Batman television show would be done if they did it correctly.
I know, but they never will.
This whole experiment with over at Gotham is terrible, and I think there are just people watching it so that they can hiss and throw poop at the TV. Like, no!
It is god awful, I tell you. Oh, but
who's Jerome? No!
I still watch that show reluctantly just because I want to see like how bad it'll get, and it never ceases to amaze me. They just wrapped up this Victor Freeze 2-part story that they did, because I'm up on the show, and it was just so god awful. It just made me sick. Like it didn't follow the fucking story at all. They take Batman continuity and then they shit all over it, and then they just slap it up on Fox and just fucking, well, you watch it. Fuck you watch it. And then I'm fucking watching it. I'm sitting there watching it. So who's the real sucker? That's
oh man,
me. I'm the sucker.
I've gotten bad vibes from that show. Like
it's
every time
horrible.
I see the commercial, it's just terrible.
I just watch it now. Like I said, I watch it reluctantly. I want to see how bad they'll twist the continuity and fuck things up. I get a kick out of I guess I don't really get a kick out of it because it makes me mad at the same time. I don't know. It's kind of like how your Nate's brother Mike watches reality TV and gets like super pissed about it, but he can't stop watching. Like that's like how I am with Gotham, I guess.
Oh, so you just like hate staring at it?
Yeah, but I don't know. It's like I've seen every episode. It's weird.
It's probably because you have this little bit of hope that somehow they're going to turn it around.
Yeah, I think that's actually, I think you're right about that. That's exactly what it is. So.
Yeah, no, I hate it when they get your hooks in you. It's rough. But all in all, like, that sounds like the Arrow's actually been really good.
Well, I think it's at the turning point where it's getting really good. Like, Felicity just left him and, like, took her ring off to put it on the table, pieced out, as he was, like, doing a video of himself on the computer for his bastard son. Like, oh, you know, like, I'm your father, Oliver Queen. I'm sorry you didn't get to know me growing up, and I'm going to tell you why right now. And he pauses, and it's like, I'm the Green Arrow. Like, and at the end, you see, like, you know, like his mother, who, you know, doesn't want her son to talk to Oliver, like, ever. You know, she's let them talk, but she hasn't let her son know that Oliver's his father.
Oh, jeez.
And she won't let him know until his 18th birthday. But it's kind of cool because at the end of the episode that they left off on, he, you know, the kid's like, she gives him back his Flash figurine, and he said, Flash is lame, I want a Green Arrow figure or whatever. And like, little does he know, like, he's gonna find out on his 18th birthday that in fact the Green Arrow is his father.
No kidding. What's the name of the kid? Is it Connor?
It's not Connor, because they used Connor Hawk in that 2046 episode. I forget his name though. I
don't know, because in past books, Green Arrow has also been portrayed as Connor Queen.
Yeah. Yep. You know, all I can say is Oliver Queen has a lot of bastard kids out there. It could be anyone. You know?
Could be.
I could be one of Oliver Queen's sons. You know, no one knows.
You could make up the Green Arrow Corps.
Oh, that'd be horrible.
All 3,600 of you, because Oliver Queen always shoots for his exact mark.
Yeah, all right, enough of that. No, I'm just kidding. But anyways, so yeah, this was the show that started it all. And of course, we met Barry Allen on the second season, early on in the season 2 of Arrow.
He actually gets hit by the bolt of lightning with all the chemicals and gets turned into the Flash at the very end of the episode.
At the end of the episode of Arrow, and then the Flash has, you know, spawns out of Arrow, and you have that amazing series in the Flash, which we should get into now.
Yeah, so the Flash is like the best show on TV.
Oh, it's my favorite.
It's definitely my favorite. I love the fact that the technology is finally caught up so that you can actually have these great characters.
Yeah, you couldn't do this. I mean, they tried. John Wesley Shipp did the Flash in the 1990s with the 1990 movie and then the TV series that followed after that. And I mean, for what it was in the time period, it was okay, but you know, nothing compared to what they can do now, for sure. And the cool thing though is John Wesley Shipp is back in the Flash series, in the current Flash series, as Henry Allen, as Flash's father. So it's kind of like the Flash, father of the Flash.
Yeah,
it's a big Flash brouhaha.
They brought back a lot of people who were part of the original series, like Mark Hamill. He was actually the Trickster originally.
Yeah, he played the Trickster in the 1990s. He's back playing the Trickster now, which I love. You know, they kept the same guy like that. Like, they've done a lot to honor the story and carry it along.
And to try to bring people back in who believed and were part of the project in the first place.
Sure.
Yeah. So the whole first season is kind of a variation on, it's like the coming of age. Barry gets his powers, learns how to use his powers. You meet a lot of his supporting cast. You run into a lot of his classic villains like the Trickster and Captain Cold, Heatwave,
Grodd.
Grodd was a big deal, yeah.
Yeah, Gorilla Grodd. And then, of course, like, the big bad guy. And, season 1 of The Flash, as cool as season 2 has been with Zoom in Earth 2 and all that jazz, season 1 with Reverse Flash is just epic good guy, bad guy, like... Just it doesn't get any better than that. Harrison Wells and how Eobard Thawne had taken his form and, was secretly playing Barry the whole time and trying to get Barry to get faster and faster so he can steal Barry's speed. Reverse Flash, Eobard Thawne, such a fucking two-timing prick. I love it.
And he's just doing it all just so he can go back to his original time.
Right.
And then he tries to kill Barry as a child when he goes back in time, but he failed, so instead he kills his mother instead. So this huge part of Barry's life is this one little spiteful decision that Thawne made because they just completed an arc with him in the books where he hates the Flash because people worship the Flash in the future as like the demigod of Central City.
Yeah,
and he has his own powers and he's ruling with an iron fist. And no matter what he does, people won't love him. And this is why he hates the Flash. So he goes back in time to try to discredit him and fight him.
Do anything he basically can to like make sure that everyone hates the Flash. Like he doesn't just want to kill the Flash. He wants to like kill the Flash, but also just make sure that everyone hates him.
But the funny thing is during the show, he's doing everything he can to protect the Flash and is overprotective of the Flash because he wants him to develop his powers the way they are because he doesn't have good access to the Speed Force himself.
Right. He needs Barry's access to the Speed Force.
So he's both like his guardian and his biggest villain of all time.
Oh, yeah.
Because he hates the Flash so much, but every second...
It's like a really, really interesting relationship between those two characters.
Yeah, he's forged into a role of nurturing when everything in his being is saying that he should just kill him as is.
Yeah.
And then it'd be problem solved. But he's selfish and he wants to go back to the future where he's from, where he's considered a genius, even in the future.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, it's very cool. It's, the rivalry... in this whole storyline, but the rivalry between Barry Allen and Eobard Thawne is something that really rivals in intensity and in sheer suspense Batman Joker. It is just such an iconic, it's good versus evil, but it's got its own twist on it, its own twist on that relationship.
There's so much story and deep intertwining and different things connecting the two.
It's like Eobard's ticket home is his bread and butter is Barry Allen. So he has to nurture and care for Barry Allen and protect Barry Allen in any way he can. But then at the same fucking time, he despises Barry Allen because Barry Allen is the Flash and the Flash steals all his thunder in the future. And Eobard can't have that because he is an egomaniac. He is a self-centered son of a bitch. And he's also like, an insane genius. So, I mean, this is the villain that we have in him. And I really hope they just keep having them go at it in future seasons because he's the best villain in the whole Flash. I mean, and the Flash has so many great villains, so many great characters.
He's the only one who gives Barry Allen fits.
Serious fits. Although Zoom in season 2, and we'll get to season 2, is giving him fits too, believe me. Zoom's a scary motherfucker. But, well, how far have you gotten into season 2, actually?
So I finally finished season 1. And then on my Hulu, they don't have episode 1 on there at all. I'm gonna try to have to find a way to get caught up. I think they might have the episodes on the CW, but I don't know. I gotta check.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Well, I'll do a quick run through. First, I suppose we should just discuss briefly the last episode of season 1. It was just so cool, where Barry goes back in time to save his mother's life. It's sort of a small callback to Flashpoint in a way.
And then he sees a future version of himself that has already come back to try and stop Zoom, and he knows that Barry's standing there, and he tells him not to do anything.
Right.
So Barry just stands there because he trusts himself, and then he watches Zoom murder his mother.
And it is like the most emotional, like just intense scene out of anything you will see in the DC TV universe. Probably it is just woo. Like, I don't care who you are, you have to take a break after that and calm down and smoke a cigarette or something. I don't know.
And then that wasn't even and then the episode got crazier after that. He comes back and he's so mad that he goes ahead and he wrecks the old time pod that Zoom has.
Right.
And then they end up getting into this crazy fight, and then Eddie Thrawn decides to sacrifice himself and change the timeline so that Eobard would never be born.
Right, because obviously Eddie Thawne is the distant relative of Eobard Thawne. So by Eddie Thawne offing himself, no more Eddie Thawne, you don't get an Eobard Thawne. So that solves that, at least for then.
And then the black hole, and then because at this point, like Barry's been running like crazy fast. He's gone back in time like twice. And then the black hole becomes unstable, and the last time we see him, he's trying to run so fast that he can go ahead and close the singularity in the sky.
That's right, I remember that.
Threatening to swallow up the entire planet, let alone the city.
That was so good. It was just such a good episode, man. It was a barn burner.
And they did that, and then they went ahead and they teased Earth 2 with Jay Garrick's helmet coming through.
Right, with the Jay Garrick's helmet comes through the portal, and that's the little tease, a little Easter egg for season 2. For Earth 2, which takes up pretty much all of season 2, anyways. Like the word Earth 2 and season 2, it's like pretty much the same thing. But
I love the whole concept of Earth 2. It's really been very interesting within the books. I haven't been too caught up. I kind of pick it up off and on, but usually I'm not disappointed.
Yeah, it's a book that I actually want to get into because it does fascinate me. Alternate, in this case, it would be an alternate universe, correct?
Yes. It's like another dimension of Earth with different versions of... And then another great thing about that book is that it doesn't hurt for characters. Usually you're looking for strong characters. In Earth 2, it's pretty much just Justice League.
Yeah.
Like across the board. But lately they've been kind of showing this alternate timeline, like they're dealing with Apocalypse, and they're not having as good a time as Earth 1, or is it 0?
Well, don't ask me.
That's a head scratcher. I'm going to go with Earth 1. I think Earth 1's the one with the continuity that we know. Yeah,
I believe you're right on that. Like, I'm an Earth 1 guy for the most part. That's like the continuity I try to follow, but I do appreciate how far DC will go with their alternate universes, or I don't know if you'd call it like an alternate dimension or an alternate universe or a parallel universe or what.
I believe it's the like infinite parallel universes.
Okay.
Because sometimes DC can get really confusing with like, that's the biggest thing with their continuity issues. Marvel's big mess is what's going on with time travel all the time. That's their mess.
But,
But as far as the different dimensions and different realities, that's DC's big mess, and they've gone through so many like big events that have tried to go ahead and capture the same, capture and borrow, and continue to tell the story of the crisis on Infinite Earths, and they keep trying to add to it, and I mean. It's pretty interesting for the canon and stuff, but at the same time, they haven't been terribly strong and haven't been really good, great stories. So it's just been kind of like, yeah. But with one of the good things that DC has actually been doing is TV. So with the whole Earth 2 angle on
The Flash,
The Flash, then that might really make things better for Earth 2, I think.
Yeah, it's pretty cool what they've been doing. I won't dive too far into it. We'll do another recap of these DC TV shows at the end of the seasons, I figure, when we can talk about, how each of these shows wrap up for the season. But some things to know for now. Jay Garrick has come to Earth 1, and he's come with a message. And the message is that Zoom is coming, and that he's afraid for what Zoom is going to do to our universe. So he's also come here without any access to the Speed Force. He's lost all of his powers as well. Turns out in his universe, for him to access the Speed Force, he has to take a drug. I forget what the drug is called, but the drug's actually also killing him at the same time. So every time he takes it, it turns into the Flash, which he has to when Zoom strikes, because he's the only one that can face Zoom, and the only one in his universe, anyways, that can give Zoom some pushback. But it kills him every time he does it. So it's kind of an interesting battle of give and take there that Jay Garrick has to go through, and Caitlin Snow, sympathizes and takes him under her nurturing wing, kind of like how she did with Ronnie Raymond, with the whole Firestorm thing until he went crazy and whatever, went away. So where was I? So Zoom has been sending these metahumans through a rip in the time stream to Earth 1, to Central City, to fuck with the Flash. And what he wants to do is he wants to constantly test the Flash and give the Flash as much trouble as possible so he gets faster. Because the faster the Flash gets, the more speed Zoom can steal from him. It's all about Zoom getting more powerful. And once he finds out that there's this speedster with as much power as the Flash, he wants that speed, but he wants, it's sort of like the equivalent of bringing home a live pig and fattening that pig up as much as possible before you kill it and make bacon out of it or whatever.
Right.
It's like he wants Barry to be at his fastest before he takes all his speed from him and kills him. So even when Barry is captured in Zoom's dungeon in Earth 2, when he goes to Earth 2 and he gets captured by Zoom lets him go when he gets bailed out of jail by a bunch of his friends, Cisco and the gang. He lets him go because he wants Barry to keep getting faster. It's crazy. So he lets him go back to Earth 1, but what he doesn't know is Barry had a way to sew up that rip in the time stream. However, he thought he was keeping Zoom away. He hasn't, and we'll find out why soon. I don't want to give anything away from the episode that is supposed to be out this week.
So awesome.
Yeah, really cool stuff. And the whole thing about Zoom is no one knew who he was until last week's episode. I don't even want to give it away because I just don't want to I don't want to be that guy. Because it's so fresh still. Is this the whole thing? Like Steve Amell was at Venice Beach one day or whatever, and some little kid went up to him and asked him do you know who Zoom is? Everyone wants to know who Zoom is the whole season so far. And I guess Steve Amell told the kid, but I guess it was a lie. It wasn't who he said it was. Either way, I know who Zoom is. I'm not going to say anything, but it could be a number of people. A lot of people have been saying that it's actually Henry Allen. A lot of people are saying it's actually Wally West. We're getting some weird ones. A few people thought it might have been Jay Garrick's doppelganger from Earth 1. I don't know. I was thinking it was actually Eddie Thawne's Earth 2 doppelganger, maybe, but I was wrong. I'll say that.
Wow.
So we don't know who Zoom actually is, but well, I do. But it's quite the reveal. It's pretty cool. And then we'll see what happens with Zoom coming through that, coming over to Earth 1 and starting trouble, and how Barry responds to that. So
Man, I gotta get my hands on those episodes.
yeah, well, we'll look for them. We'll watch them. I love rewatching The Flash. It's great. But I suppose it's time for us to get into a proper show. A show starring a cute, effeminate Englishman named Rip Hunter.
That's not called Doctor Who?
He travels through time, and in 2046, Vandal Savage conquered the world and murdered my wife and child. So I guess he murdered my wife and child. I guess I should go do something about that.
Yes, my mind is terribly occupied by this terrible thing. No.
So, I mean, that is pretty much the story, though. In 2046, Vandal Savage does take over the world and does murder Rip Hunter's wife and child. So Rip Hunter, the time master that he is, assembles a team of people that are inconsequential to the time stream.
And then they find out that that's why he picked them.
Yeah, and
then
bullshit.
they all get butthurt.
He's like, yeah, you're going to be legends, and I just wanted a team of legends. And it's really like he just wanted a team of people that, like, if he like took them and put them in like different parts of the timeline of the time stream, that they wouldn't it wouldn't affect anything, because they have no effect on the time stream whatsoever. So these characters, he's got Hawkman and Hawkgirl, and I think the reason for that is because they reincarnate every so often. I know that.
Yeah, well, no, and also they're directly linked to Vandal Savage in the series.
Right.
Vandal Savage does this ritual that saps their power, and every time he kills them and takes their essence, he becomes more powerful. Okay,
so yeah, that's why they're there, and obviously they're the only ones that can, or one of the only people that can kill Vandal Savage, So Rip needs them. But then you got Ray Palmer, the Atom, who's like, brilliant scientist, and he can make himself, using the Atom suit, he can make himself like really
down.
large or really small.
Yep.
And he can fly, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, all in all, Ray Palmer was a pretty badass. He's kind of pretty much got like the Iron Man suit, but he does the whole Ant-Man thing.
Yeah, it's kind of like a blend of those two. It's pretty neat. It's a cool character that if they expanded on him in the comic book continuity, they'd have success, but they don't, because they're idiots.
They need to write him as more of like an adventure book. Like he shrinks down and goes into places that people really should never go, and then gets into fights with like ravenous amoebas and bacteria and stuff. And like those would be great stories if they did it more of like, just going on adventures.
Almost like in the Mighty Marvel manner, you might say, because like you describe those things, and I think of Ant-Man and his adventures, and that's the first thing that popped into my head. Yeah, that's what if Stan was given a character like that, he's like, oh, we'll do this in the Mighty Marvel manner, and he'll be fighting amoebas and this and that, and going inside, computer
fixing machines from the inside, and
or whatever,
and curing disease. Like the president's got the smallpox.
Whatever it might be.
Adam, we need your help. Like, dun, 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 dun. I'm going to shrink down and kill smallpox.
And he could do that. Yeah. So you got him. You got White Canary, Sarah Lance, who used to be Black Canary, was murdered technically by Thea Queen, but it was really Malcolm Merlin's fault. Surprise there. Either way, she is reincarnated via Lazarus Pit and has come back as White Canary,
and has a ravenous urge to kill all the time that she has to repress. That
and lesbian sex.
Lots of that too.
Yeah, she's got those urges. Captain Cold and Heatwave are part of the team, oddly enough. Some of the Flash's rogues.
I just don't see how one of the other villains who keeps giving Barry fits is somehow inconsequential to the timeline.
I know, right?
I mean, he really is just about the score and himself, so I don't think he'd have an effect outwardly, but I mean...
Why don't we stretch our legs back there at that bank?
Let's stretch our legs and head back 3 blocks to that bank we saw.
Yeah, I love that line from Legends when they were in the Star City 2046, and Mick makes himself at home, and he puts on his fur coat and becomes a gang leader.
Oh yeah, no, he fits right in, and he's like the alpha male, in front of all these criminals because he's got his flame gun.
I love the dystopian future stuff, though, so I love that episode. That's my favorite fucking episode.
Oh, that's easily the best episode so far. And then
the old school Oliver Queen with the mechanical arm, and he's all depressed and shit,
and fighting the Slade's son.
Yeah, Grant Wilson, I think they were calling him in the show.
Yeah.
Awesome stuff. Where were we on the cast? Captain Cold and Heatwave.
And then Dr. Stein and Jefferson, who make up Firestorm.
Jefferson! In the last episode, all they did was talk about girls the whole time, while everyone else was doing work.
Oh, yeah. And then
Dr. Stein was being a little catty little girl, talking about girls.
And then Ray Palmer ends up getting shot down by Hot Girl, even though they end up developing something a couple episodes later.
Yeah, they're on and off. They're hot and cold. I know that. Interesting little relationship there.
Yeah. But I love how it's cool because you're pretty much running into Vandal Savage every single episode.
Yeah, and he's always doing something dastardly, and the guy that got playing him is awesome. He's just a good actor. He's a great villain. He's becoming. One of the big DC TV universe villains. Him and Reverse Flash. Him and Eobard Thawne are the 2 biggest, I'd say.
I've loved Vandal Savage from the books ever since I read the character from Demon Knights.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
In the Demon Knights book, it was supposed to be what Stormwatch ended up becoming, or what Stormwatch was before it became Stormwatch. And it had so many original good characters, and eventually they stopped making it. And I thought it had a lot of potential. But the Vandal Savage character is just this immortal bastard who always regenerates and has zero problems with hurting or stealing or manipulating people. And you see much of the same here. Now, of course, the character over time gains intelligence, learns to do mad scientist things, learns to create his own cults. He's always pulling the strings from the shadows.
Oh yeah, big time. They had that episode where he was playing a huge hand in the Cold War. What else do they have him doing?
Creating the Hawk human hybrids with that meteorite.
Oh yeah, doing that creepy mad scientist stuff. Yeah. Then they had him as that was the same episode. Yeah, when he was supposed to be a psychiatrist and
he had this whole wing of the asylum dedicated to him where he just do experiments on people.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And he's always up to no good, and the legends have to come save the day.
Yeah. No, I think the best part of the series so far is that Rip Hunter goes ahead. He has this knife to Vandal Savage's throat. This is the second time he's had a chance to kill him. He actually does the job, slits his throat, and then he goes ahead and he's like, I finally avenged my wife and son, and then says their names, but then Vandal Savage is says something to the effect of you idiot, I'm going to regenerate. And then I know exactly who to look for in 2046.
Yeah.
And it was just
pretty crazy stuff. Yeah.
Well, actually, isn't it 2146? I think it was a little further up there. Actually, I have no idea about the dates.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure.
I memorize a lot of comic book stuff. Dates really aren't one of them because, they do such a weird job of, dealing with continuity in time as it is.
Oh, yeah. Definitely.
Why memorize dates? Unless it's, a major part of the plot. But there's nothing like that in Legends of Tomorrow.
No, it's definitely You don't need to memorize that to enjoy the show. It's great. It's a great show, though. All these shows have been great. They are starting to do a lot of crossovers with these shows. You know, we mentioned the Oliver Queen crossover in Legends of Tomorrow. We mentioned the Flash crossovers with Arrow, and just announced not too long ago, there's going to be a Flash Supergirl crossover. And, that officially, etches in stone that Supergirl is, in fact, part of the DC TV universe.
And that it's been renewed for a second season.
Yes, it has been renewed for a second season.
I haven't seen
correct.
it yet, but I've heard that they've introduced a lot of compelling characters from the DCU, like Martian Manhunter is part of the show, from what I've heard.
Yep. They introduced Martian Manhunter. They've also introduced a lot of key DC villains like Live Wire, who's like a big villainous, Maxwell Lord, who's a big heel in the DCU. I'm trying to think of others. I've seen about 4 episodes now. I'm giving it a chance. I'm not going to lie. It has been a little difficult for me to get into this one. But I think that's because of the themes they've been using. They're not, it's not a show filled with machismo. If you're looking for blood and guts and shoot 'em ups or action sequences, I mean, she has her action sequences and they're cool. And I think, they did a real good job with the CGI in regards to her flying and, using her powers and things like that. They've done a good job as well with the villains they've had so far. But a lot of it is her, working at this, hoity-toity social media gossip company. I still haven't quite figured it out. But Callista Flockhart plays her boss, and she's just kind of like really bitchy, and she always has to get her like all this stuff, and coffee, and I don't know. And then like Jimmy Olsen is this tall black guy with no hair. He's like bald, and that like doesn't follow the story at all. And then like she like is falling for him. And
you think it's like just a coincidence? Like they talk about Superman on the show too, don't they?
It might be just a coincidence. I don't know.
Like, my Jimmy Olsen's different from your Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah, I haven't heard that, but They mention Clark, and they mention Superman, and they mention that Clark is Superman quite a few times on the show. She knows of her cousin. She knows that he's Clark Kent. She knows that Clark Kent is Superman. Blah, 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 blah. But basically, she tells this Jimmy Olsen character, he might be the Jimmy Olsen from Metropolis. I don't think he is. He tells him everything. They just meet and she just tells him everything, because girls just tell everyone everything. They don't, nothing stays secret.
Yeah, that's dangerous.
She tells her
go tell people who Superman is.
She's telling.
It's just like a bad idea.
Oh, it's horrible. She's telling people who Superman is. She's telling everyone who she is. Not giving a fuck. Just like it's gonna come back and just bite her in the ass so bad. I can already see it.
Yeah, it's so funny because like the secret identities are such a closely guarded secret within the books, and like it's always like a huge deal when somebody finds out a secret identity within the books. It's a major plot device that they actually use, and here she is just throwing it around like it doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, I'm waiting for her to come out with the music video, like My Cousin is Superman, followed by like the hit single I'm Supergirl. My cousin is Superman.
She's doing like synchronized flying with like doves.
Meanwhile, Clark Kent's sitting in like Metropolis, like with like a paper bag over his head, like God damn it! I don't know, man. I'll continue to try to give that show a chance for a couple more episodes. How about that? And if I don't enjoy it, well, whether I enjoy it or not, we'll talk about it next time around. But, you know, when these shows conclude for their seasons and we do a recap, I'll let you know, yay or nay on Supergirl. Right now, I'd say nay. It's not worth your time. But I can see why some people like it.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
to watch it.
There's a possibility that like the key demographic that they're trying to cater to is actually that of women.
Yeah, you're definitely right. That's pretty much what they're trying to like loosely incorporate like a comic book story into like, you know, a women's show of sorts.
Yeah. Well, no, there are a lot of
you
women
can just tell like there's a lot of estrogen in that show. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's not gonna please everyone. You know.
Yeah. Well, that's actually one of my big dreams is that all women end up loving comic books.
Yeah, so if this helps, then, you know, so be it.
Yeah, let's push that agenda.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, you know, I think we covered a lot of ground today. We definitely gave a pretty solid update of the DC TV universe. So I believe this concludes yet another compelling episode of the Vigilant Geek Podcast. For those of you that have been listening, I want to thank you very much. Please like our YouTube page. We will post the link in the blog, which is thevigilantgeek.blogspot.com. And please continue to enjoy our podcasts as well as the articles on the blog. So thank you, Holden.
Thank you, Andrew.
We got Holden Orme, who always joins me. Most likely, more often than not. Although he has joined me every time since. And we want to remind you all to stay vigilant.